The ground shudders. It is a familiar language, the deep, gut rumble of the world stretching its bones, for the clan of Homo erectus. This is a known thing, a momentary punctuation in the rhythm of prehistoric life. The old matriarch, her face a mask of deep creased leather, barely glances up from the tuba. She is scraping clean with a flake of chert. The younger males, crouched by the stream, pause in their tense watch for game, their eyes scanning the jungle canopy. Birds are silent, a bird sighing. The air, usually thick with the scent of wet earth and decay, now carries a faint, sharp smell. Sulphur, the great mountain at the valley's head, the one they call the Sky Tooth, is restless again. This tremor, however, does not fade. It holds a low, grinding vibration that works its way up through the soles of their feet, into their teeth, a warning that is older than their kind. Then the world roars. It is not the sound of a predator or a storm, but the sound of the stone heart of the world breaking. The matriarch is on her feet in an instant. The tuba forgotten, her cry is not a word but a raw, explosive command that rips through the sudden stillness. Every head snaps toward the Sky Tooth. The mountain's peak is gone, erased, replaced by a churning column of blackness and fire that punches a hole in the blue sky. This is not the familiar world of life million years ago. This is an unmaking. From the wound in the earth, a cloud begins to spill, not of water, but of shadow and incandescent rage. It does not rise. It falls. It pours down the slopes, an avalanche of pure annihilation that devours the forest, boiling rivers and turning ancient trees to ash in its path. The pyroclastic flow, a force that does not kill, but obliterates. Panic, cold and absolute, seizes the clan. They are a community of 30, bound by lineage and the shared, brutal calculus of survival. Now, that community fractures into 30 points of terror. They run. There is no plan, no strategy born of their burgeoning human evolution. Only the animal instinct to move away from the heat, away from the all-consuming sound. They plunge into the tangled green, the shaking ground throwing them off balance. The air thickens, growing hot, each breath a searing gasp of dust and poison. A young mother, a child clinging to her back, stumbles and falls. Her mate, his face a mask of terror, turns back. He does not hesitate. He hauls her to her feet, his crep bruising, and pushes her forward, his body a shield against the first patter of falling rock and hot ash. It is a choice made without thought, an instinct deeper than fear. Others are not so fortunate. An old hunter, his leg twisted in a root, is swallowed by the chaos behind them. His loss is not marked, not more. There is no time. The fleeing Pleistocene megafauna, giant tapirs and panic deer, crash blindly through the undergrowth alongside them, their own primal terror testament to the scale of the catastrophe. The world of these human ancestors is ending, and their only response is to run from the heart of the furnace. The flight ends, but the ordeal begins. 17 survivors huddle under a blackened escarpment, a jagged wound in the new grey landscape. The roar of the mountain has faded, replaced by an oppressive silence, muffled by a world wrapped in a shroud of ash. They are ghosts in a monochrome hell. The matriarch takes a silent, devastating count. A third of the clan, erased. Children without mothers, mates without partners. There are no rituals for this kind of loss, no time for the deep grammar of grief. The living are too busy fighting the dust that clogs their lungs with every breath. The sun is a rumor, a pale smudge in the sky the color of slate. This is the onset of a volcanic winter, a chilling phenomenon that will rewrite the rules of existence for these early humans. The vibrant world they knew is gone, buried. Their deep knowledge of fruiting trees, of animal trails, of fresh water springs, all rendered useless. They are experts in a world that no longer exists. Thirst is the first tormentor. The streams are choked with sludge, and a fine, persistent drizzle begins to fall, stinging their skin and poisoning the pools that form in the hollows of the rock. Acid rain. The matriarch, her face caked in grey paste, watches a small bird fall from a skeletal branch, twitch, and die after sipping the water. This is an observation of profound intelligence, a connection made between cause and effect that is the cornerstone of their future. She grunts, a sharp command, pointing to the dead bird, then striking a hand against her mouth. Do not drink. They understand. Their survival now depends on these small, sharp acts of perception. This is the raw material of hominid history, not grand conquest, but the wisdom to see poison and turn away. Hunger is the second, a hollow ache that gnaws from within. The young hunter, his mate and child huddled close for warmth, rises. He moves with a slow, deliberate energy, conserving what little he has left. He finds a half-buried branch of a hardwood tree, and with a familiar quartzite cobble, he begins to work. This is the timeless art of lithic technology, the shaping of stone to project will and intellect onto the world. With practiced, economical blows, he strikes a flake, its edge brutally sharp. He uses this, one of his simple but effective ancient tools, to strip away the poisoned bark, digging into the wood. His search is desperate. The beetle grubs for anything with substance. After an hour of painstaking work, his reward is meager. 3 pale, fat larvae, squirming in his palm. The primal urge is to put them straight into his mouth. A secret surge of life for himself, but he hesitates. He looks at the others, at their gaunt faces and listless eyes. His gaze falls on the oldest male, shivering, too weak to seek his own food. He walks to the old one and places a single grub in his open palm. He gives another to his own child. The last, he shares with his mate. It is an act of pure, calculated altruism in a world stripped of all abundance. The only currency that matters is the shared commitment to endure. The clan is not a collection of individuals. It is a single, starving organism, and it will survive or perish together. Days of stumbling through a grey purgatory bleed into a week. The clan is a procession of ragged skeletons, driven by a memory of sunlight. Then, a new sound reaches them, and oh, rhythmic sighing that is not the wind. A new smell cuts through the stench of sulfur and decay. Salt. They crest a final, crumbling dune of ashen seat, a boundless, churning grey expanse that meets the grey sky. The ocean, for these inland hominids, it is as alien as a second moon. They have traded a world of green for a world of grey, and their deep well of ancestral knowledge is now empty. Their finely tuned subsistence strategy, perfected over generations, is now just a collection of ghost memories. Here, there are no tubers to dig, no familiar game trails to follow. There is only the ceaseless, hungry water. Despair, a cold and patient predator, settles over the small group. They watch the tireless waves, and for the first time since the sky to thwart, they stop moving. This is the end. But the matriarch, her eyes hollowed out by starvation, is still watching, not the waves, but the line where the water touches the land. She observes the subtle retreat of the tide, a slow bearing of dark, slick rock and sand. It is a new rhythm, a new pulse. It is information. She points a trembling finger, a silent command. The young hunter, understanding her gesture, forces himself to his feet. He and 2 others follow the receding water, their bare feet sinking into the wet, ashen sand. They are explorers on a new planet. What they find is a museum of the dead, a lesson in the grim science of taphonomy. The shore is littered with broken shells, the bones of fish, the carapaces of strange, armored creatures. They are reading the story of this ecosystem from its refuse. This is the genesis of an idea. It is the core of what makes these ancient humans more than just clever animals. They see the broken shells and reason that somewhere there must be unbroken ones. The hunter uses his stone flake, the last remnant of his old life's toolkit, to pry it input from a rock. He smashes it open. The meat inside is slick, Strange, he eats it raw. The taste of salt and sea is a shock. But it is substance. It is life. This single, desperate act is a monumental turning point in the prehistory of their lineage. They have found a new hunger, and a new way to feed it. Their entire existence now reorganizes around the rhythm of the tides. At low tide, the clan moves as one. The stronger members venture onto the tidal threats, a frantic search for mollusks, crabs, and anything trapped in the shallow pools.
Preparing to fight back.
The others remain on the high shore, a protective circle around the infants, using hammer stones to process the catch. The crack of stone on shell becomes the new sound of their survival. The 17 survivors on that grey shore did not know their place in the grand narrative of human evolution. They were not heroes forging a new destiny. They were starving creatures learning a new trick. Yet, the story of our species is written in these small, desperate adaptations. The evidence of their survival, a scatter of broken shells and crudely worked stones, is the very language of archaeology, a faint whisper across a chasm of 1,000,000 years. Their ordeal reveals the fundamental truth of our lineage. Our greatest tool was never the sharpened stone, but the flexible mind. It was the ability to see a world end and not break, to have a lifetime of certainty rendered obsolete and still learn to read the patterns in the tide. This is the bedrock of anthropology, the study of a creature whose survival depends not on specialization, but on the capacity for radical reinvention. They endured the unendurable not because they were strong, but because they were intelligent enough to be fragile together, to share the last grub, to shield a child from the poisoned rain, to collectively face a shore of new hunger. Their struggle is the brutal, foundational blueprint for every society we have ever built. When the sky falls, we look to each other, and we learn to eat what the tide brings in. We are chroniclers of a fire lit in the deep past, a flame that now illuminates the world, but the fuel for that fire was always the same. The courage to adapt, the wisdom to cooperate, and the simple, profound instinct to care for the flame and others. But on the frozen plains of a different continent, a new kind of winter was teaching a different kind of human a darker lesson about survival.